Hi again. Welcome back. I have just returned from spring break 2025, an epic journey with my family, my 3 children, driving down to visit my mother in Virginia, their grandma, and then driving back again. And we did it all in 1 week, and it was a big tour. And it was fun and exhausting, and we got home just in time for this new moon. And let's pretend that in some way is an indication of this cycle. Let's just pretend, because why not? And I just feel like maybe right now this new moon has to do with kind of being exhausted, and exhausted in not a bad way, but exhausted in a way where maybe we are being pushed into a creative new center, and that exhaustion is part of the story. So how do we take this exhaustion and begin again, another cycle? It's only 2 weeks. It's another little chunk of time. How do we begin again? Even as we feel drained, tired, even incapable, there's some way for us to move ahead. And maybe this exhaustion, this sense of being on our last legs, is the best way to begin, because we've been really trying, using all of our tricks. We've been using everything that we know how to move into our next phases, our next ways of approaching creative change. And I wonder if it's through the exhaustion that we innovate new ways of being engaged with these times. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Anne Headley, and this is my podcast, What is Going On Anyway, where I contemplate the current moon, where it is in its cycle, new or full. And this time it is a new flower moon. Usually this is in May, but this is the first new moon of this cycle, and it's the very end of April this year. I contemplate what this means for me intuitively, imaginally, as a pathway through daily life. I wonder how universal themes show up for us through different cycles, and as I reach for meaning using that intuition and imagination, I share this with you, and I find I'm discovering a richness in paying attention to life as it is. And as I mentioned last time, I'm also really enjoying this 2-week cycle of looking at the nature of things, looking at how I move through 2 weeks at a time. I feel a satisfaction in that, in the longer process of starting something and letting it come to an end, feeling the fullness of it, letting it go, letting new things begin. It's a really nice way to see accomplishing just really daily, everyday things, and realizing that rather than thinking I have to have something complete in 1 day or 1 week, that my completion cycle goes through 2-week cycles, and sometimes the 4-week cycle of building to my full moon, and then releasing to my new moon that gives me a new cycle of things. So here we are in this new moon, and as I said, it feels like a new moon starting from, well, this is the image, actually. Let me share this with you. I had this feeling like, now I've never done this. I've never run a marathon, but I was just with a friend telling me about running a marathon, and I had this sense of there's some place in the marathon which you have trained for and you know that you can complete, where you must feel so tired that you don't want to complete it. And somewhere you have to pull some deep inner resources to keep going. And this new moon feels like starting from a place where you have to access some kind of resources, inner resources, to begin again, to try again, to start over. And so there's something here about reaching for what is important to you and taking one little step in that direction. And I think most people have a hard time knowing what is important to them. And my wondering is around back again to this engagement with our own desire and our own passion drives. It comes down to pleasing yourself in the face of others, asking for what you want, and being willing to fully occupy yourself when you either receive or don't receive that thing, and dealing with the feelings that come up around it so that you can do it again and do it again. We're so conditioned to believe that we don't deserve what we want, that we will stand and fight for things that mean nothing to us, instead of addressing and dealing with the tender, sensitive reality of what we desire in the world. I'd like to share this quote by Octavia Butler, this commentary. Beware. All too often we say what we hear others say. We think what we are told we think. We see what we are permitted to see. Worse, we see what we are told that we see. Repetition and pride are the keys to this. To see and to hear even an obvious lie again and again and again. Maybe to say it almost by reflex, then to defend it because we have said it, and at last to embrace it because we've defended it, and because we cannot admit that we've embraced and defended an obvious lie. Thus, without thought, without intent, we make mere echoes of ourselves, and we say what we hear others say. Again, that's Octavia Butler. I'm wishing for us that rather than repeating what we've heard, we get interested, curious about what it is that we are here for, who we are, what we stand for, the space that we occupy, what really moves us, because I don't think we can help those things. I don't think that we can help loving what we love. And I think the most noble thing we can do is stand and hold space for ourselves and those things that we desire about the world, what we want to see come to light, how we want to participate, who we want to be in this world, and make space for that to be so. And not spend so much of our lives repeating what we've heard, how we've been conditioned, and as Octavia Butler said, being echoes of ourselves. There's something more here for us than to not question the deepest desire that we have and see if we can bring it out into the world. And it's so easy to say these times are hard. The world seems like it's falling apart in front of our eyes. And there's another quote I have by Toni Morrison. She was interviewed saying sometimes she has a difficulty writing, and then she realized that it is in difficult times when the writing becomes the most important thing to do. And this is her quote: "This is the time when artists go to work. Not when everything is all right, not when it's sunny, but when it's hard." And so especially if things feel hard, as the world feels hard these days, it's time to engage with, you may not consider yourself an artist, but it's in time to engage with the way you are creative in the world. We are all creative beings after all. And there's got to be some way to make a nest for that creativity, especially this kind of time in the Northern Hemisphere with spring. Nest up, baby. Lay your eggs and sit on it and let yourself be proud. I think about the pride of, I watch chickens, so I think about the pride of a mama hen on her brood of eggs and how fiercely she protects that creative spark that's growing inside those eggs, that life that's growing. I know I talk a lot about creativity and supporting and creating it. There's something about this new moon which is like there really isn't time to there isn't time to waste. And so if you think about those eggs, there is an incubation time. And that's it. You can't get off the nest once you start. So that mama hen has to stay. She can get up for short periods of time. If we're really getting specific about this analogy with the eggs. But those eggs have to maintain their incubation consistently for that 21-day, 3-week cycle. Now, I don't know how long your incubation is for this next thing that you're interested in doing, bringing from the inside to the outside. But let's just think about it this way, is that the time is now, the egg is there. You don't even have to lay the egg. The egg is there for you, and you need to surround it, protect it, and take care of it for this next 2-week cycle until we get to the full moon and you know more about it. The full moon may mean there's more time that you need around this hatching egg. Or maybe it's going to hatch then. I don't know yet. That's for another time. But right now, the point is it's already begun. Whatever this seed of a thing is has already begun. And it's time for you to do what you need to do to protect it and keep it warm and safe. And that is the intuition for this new moon. Take care of the thing that's already there in front of you to care for. Keep going. Keep going. You know that song, right?
Keep going on song. This is a keep going.
You know I love that song. And I've probably played it before. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I think that's the thing that is hard sometimes, is to get the resources that we need to keep doing the things that make us feel like it matters that we're here. I can't say what those things are, but you know when you feel good and well and full and that you matter to the world around you. And that's what we're going for, is full occupation of ourselves and creating a new world together. And it requires that we don't be other than who we are. And we don't hope that we are different than who we are, but that we try to honor and respect and dignify that what we are, that which is what we are. And in order to do that for ourselves, we have to do that for everyone else. We must see everyone else with that kind of dignity that we wish to be able to see for ourselves, to see into ourselves. We can do that for each other. And I ask you right now if you can imagine who your enemy is. And if you have an enemy, or if you have an other in your life that you like to blame, this human thing that we do, this terrible thing that we do that can lead to all kinds of violences. But see if you can look at that and befriend the other. Sometimes we just think about ignorance and we other the ignorance, and that becomes the enemy. There's something about that I would ask you to look carefully into. How you are losing your freedom by pushing other people away. We all have this. We all have this way of, if this was just different, if he was just different, everything would be okay. Or maybe everything would be okay. Or it would be different. Or I wouldn't be so upset. And I just wonder if there's a way of reclaiming freedom by letting people be, letting the world be as it is, and pulling that energy back, which really stays far away. Like, say I'm critical of Trump. And I don't think you should not be critical of Trump, but just say that I'm spending a lot of my time occupying myself out in that criticism. It doesn't allow me the freedom that I need to work really deeply with my own occupation and let whatever it is that I am come to light, come out, come through my throat chakra. So that's all I'm saying, is that you can retrieve some of those hooks that are out there in the world and let them, either release them, unhook them, reel them back in, and get really curious about yourself. How can you become more expressive? How can you let something from the inside move to the outside, or even just practice sounding? Let your voice come out some way. Oh, I realize I did it again. I always do this, don't I? I go into this place where I'm saying, you need to do this and that, and you, and it's always me. It's always me. So for me, I practice this by trying to speak up. Like, say I'm just ordering something at a restaurant. Can I order the thing that I want? Not the thing that I think I should have, not the thing that would make it so that the table is a well-rounded tasting of things, but that I actually order what I want. I find that challenging. That might seem silly, but I find it challenging to speak up for myself and my desire. And I'll even get to the place like, I don't even know. I don't know if I want anything at all. So practice in really simple ways, speaking up for desire. I know I talk about it a lot, but obviously I'm still stuck there, and it's still something that I'm working through. So maybe you're in that boat with me. I suspect that until there's a fluency with desire and emotions and being comfortable in the world, speaking up for how we think and feel, that we're not able to hold the space that we can hold. And then there's like this subtle lack of integrity that I think there's something so powerful about everyone being rooted and grounded and sure. Like this sureness, like the world might not have my back, but I've got my back. I've got this. I can cycle back and root myself down into my own space, and I can be there for myself. I can be here for myself. If we could all do that for ourselves, wow, then we wouldn't, I feel like we don't even know what that would look like. We don't know what kind of world there could be if we could depend on ourselves. We don't have to depend on other people. We can depend on ourselves. Emotionally, I'm talking about. We need each other. Of course we need each other. And we need each other emotionally. But what I'm saying is if we could find that deep security in ourselves, and it wasn't this back and forth battle of looking for security in each other that could never be found. I feel like we could get some real shit done. Like we could really do some good work in the world if we could get ourselves secure and grounded in our own being. And I think I'm not the only one that is wanting and wishing for a different world. A world where we all belong. And I want to tell you this quick story because we stopped in New York City on the way home, and I was talking to my friend there, and it reminded me of something I hadn't thought about in a long time. When I was a teenager, I, as I do now, had alopecia then, and it was patchy at the time, and I kept it covered with a scarf. I had gone and been invited to the White Mountain Summer Dance Festival. And I went there for the summer, and I felt wonderful, free. I had been immersed in dance, and I was about to go to college for dance, and I was happy. I was doing what I dreamed about. And after the dance festival, which was up in New Hampshire, I got a ride with someone who was at the dance festival back to New York City, where I was flying out of. I was flying out of New York City to get back home. And I spent the night, one night. And she took me to the Joyce Theater and took me around the Lower East Side, just kind of gave me a little tour of the city. And for some reason, I don't know what got into me, I decided to walk around the city without the scarf that I usually wear on my head. This still feels like slightly terrifying to me. I don't know what got into me that made me want to do this. It was the most unusual experience of my life because no one looked twice at me. There was no othering. I was not unusual, or I was not remarkable enough for anyone to pay any attention to my patchy head of hair at all. And it wasn't like a little bit patchy. This was like mostly bald with patchy spots. And I walked around the city that night, and I felt so at home. I think I fell in love with New York that night. No one could be bothered by me, and that was the best feeling in the whole world. It's like honestly cozy. I don't know exactly how to describe it, except for that. That's the feeling that I'm reaching for right now, of everyone being so occupied by their own business, their own desire, their own work of bringing their desire out into the world, that we can't be that bothered by someone else's quirky weirdnesses, that there just isn't enough time for that nonsense anymore. That's what I wish for, that kind of feeling for all of us. And I've pulled a card from Kim Kranz's Archetypes, the Wild Unknown Archetypes. And what I got is Aletheia, truth. Our soul recognizes the truth. When someone speaks it, a cool wave of relief washes over the room, and all the facts and figures in the world fall by the wayside. Such is the power of Aletheia. It has an undeniable resonance that goes beyond the rational. We can also recognize Aletheia by its contagiousness. When we hear someone speak the truth, we see the truth within ourselves and are more likely to tell our own story. The Aletheia card requires us to step toward an act of truth. This might look like a conversation, a gesture, a poetic act, or a ritual that honors the unveiling of what's been concealed. Reclaiming your own truth is a way to reclaim your vital energy, health, and sense of belonging in the world. Truth has its own wings. Set it free. And I'm going to take this card as part of our instruction in protecting and incubating and taking care of that egg that has already been laid, that seed that has already been set into motion. And there's something about letting something that is true for us come through our throat and out into the world. It's one thing to know it inside of ourselves, and it's another thing to say it out. This confessional spirit is the right motion for this moment. We are not meant to hold things inside and not share them. I think this is part of this act of bringing something up and out, letting there be lightness, letting there be joy here, and an incredible release of shame. I didn't talk about shame earlier. That's one of the things that came up intuitively. We probably talked about shame before. There's no more room for that. The shame that we feel is oftentimes acting as a protective force around lies. The shame, we've internalized it. And when you go in to investigate it, you have to wonder, I have to wonder about this. Where is the origination of this shame? And by my holding on to it, who and what am I protecting? So if you were to release your shame, who would be harmed by that? And it probably wouldn't be you. Let's see what the I Ching has to say about this moment in time. We get a lovely one, 42, increasing. What would you do if you knew you were blessed? Didn't we get this one before? What if there were no limits? What could change for the better? So this asks me to keep expanding my ideas of how my desire moves into the world. What if you knew you were blessed? What if there were no limits? What could change for the better? Increase simply flows, without limit. There is no need for restrictive frameworks to contain it, but only for tools to work with it. When you are blessed, it is good to respond with purpose and movement. Participating in the increase, pouring more in, you receive more in return. Let yourself imagine where you want to be and take the first steps that commit you to going there. This is how to keep the momentum. Take the first steps that commit you to going there. My commentary here is, as you take those first steps, sometimes you're walking away from something. And sometimes you're walking away from something that needs to be left. There's a moment here of letting go of what needs to be let go of. Some things, as you move into an increased flow and you move into your own destiny, I want to say destiny, some things have to be, it's like taking off a coat. You don't need that coat anymore. You don't need to be protected with that outer layer. So some things get sloughed off in this process, and let them go. Don't try to collect them, because when you turn around to collect those things, you turn away from your destiny. I just don't know why I want to say it that way. And oh boy, this is an unchanging hexagram. So let's see what that means. In its static form, benefit or increase or increasing suggests the need for heightened sensitivity in regard to the object of your inquiry. So heightened sensitivity about these next 2 weeks. Be prepared to assimilate advice or information about what is needed from you. A single gesture will not be enough. The situation will demand your consistent generosity. By demonstrating your willing commitment on a daily basis, you will eventually meet with success. And one of the things that I'm practicing these next 2 weeks is to take 1 hour a day to practice being happy, to practice having nothing else to do but something that pleases me, to go for a walk, to make some art, to be in a state of enjoying myself, not trying to be productive, not getting something done, not cleaning something, not working for someone else, but 1 hour a day where I'm with myself, really with myself. And I think this hexagram is saying it's not enough to do that once. And I could give you that homework. You could take that homework if you wanted to. I don't even know if I can do it, honestly. It's a little far out of my comfort zone. Like, I'm happy to do that one day a week, give myself some unstructured space. It's structured. The structure is occupy 1 hour by pleasing yourself, by enjoying, by being who you are. I'm going to be myself for 1 hour, whatever that might be, without an outer influence. I'm not going to listen to an audiobook. I'm not going to scroll social media or even read a book or complete a task, or I'm not even going to do any knitting or sewing. I think it would be okay for me when I feel my way into it if I were painting or drawing. That was something like a new creativity, but not completing an old piece. And I think walking, hiking, gardening probably counts for me at this place in the season because it's all brand new. It's like this open wandering space, 1 hour each day. That's my commitment to these 2 weeks, to see how that increases a flow in my life. All right, folks, we've hit the 30-minute mark. This is the podcast for this week, this new pink moon. Good luck with it. I hope you hatch many wonderful things in these 2 weeks, or maybe it takes 2 more weeks. We'll wait and see. Thank you so much for being here. As always, you can find me at www.annhedley.com. That's ANNHEDLY. You can support me on Patreon, www.patreon.com/watermoonstudios. May you be well. May you know peace. And may all beings everywhere, whether known to me and us or not, may they be well and may they know peace. Bye for now.